Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to do a class for lending by us today versus property by us. Let's talk a little bit about lending. I know most of us want to get more knowledge with lending because when we have clients, we always come across, do I qualify for a loan? They want to know how to get their pre-approval. We've done a few classes in the past. Let's just do a small review and then we can maybe talk about something new. So in the past, we talked about when you guys have clients, when you do a sit down, ask them two key questions. So start with two questions from them in order to have a foundation in your conversation with them about what amount you're going to qualify them for, right? Who can tell me what the first question is? So I put them on the board if my marker writes. Who can tell me what the first question is?
How much you can afford a month?
Yes. How much can you afford every month? So I just write it really fast. So basically, you're asking them, how much can you pay every month for your mortgage and property tax and insurance, and if it happens to be an apartment, HOA. So what is the total monthly payment you can afford? So they're going to sit, they're going to tell you, well, if I push myself, I can pay $4,000 a month, for example, right? That will decide the loan amount. So if somebody says I can afford to pay $4,000 a month, right? 4,000 every month. That's their budget. So we are able to calculate and come up with the loan amount. What's the second question? What's the second question?
What you have saved?
Yes. So how much do you have to put down in simple language? To put down, right? So basically, whoever is buying a house, they have saved some money. We don't want percentages, we want dollar amount. How much do you have to put down? Let's say I have they say I have 100,000 saved up, right? So they say I have 100,000 saved up. So you guys can now use these two, 4,000 a month plus 100,000 down. You can use those two and come up with what purchase price, what they can buy, and what the loan amount is, okay? So everybody that has a phone, let's just do this together really quick. Let's go to homebykevin.com since I know it's working right now, homebykevin.com. Perry, can you check propertybyus.com, see if the mortgage calculator is working on there too? Okay, and everybody that's there, click resources. And on the icon, little three lines, you hit the resources, it's gonna tell you mortgage calculator. Joel, let me know when you're there.
It's working
It's
for PBU.
for PBU. So also we can do this, guys, at propertybyus.com. There's a mortgage calculator. So on the down payment, guys, put the 100,000 down. Everyone put 100,000 down. And then you're gonna choose a purchase price and see on your calculation if you get to 4,000 or you need to go up. So let's start halfway. Let's go with 500,000. Everybody put 500,000 in the purchase price, 100,000 down, and then somebody tell me when you do it, what is the total payments you get when you do it?
It's 2,333.
So what's your purchase price?
The purchase price is 500,000,
Okay.
and the down payment is 100,000.
Okay.
The interest rate is
That's the problem.
3.5%.
So I'm sorry. Good for calling that, Joel. Change the interest rate to 7.5 because the default we have to fix it on Home by Kevin is from the COVID era. Sorry, era is gone.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's 3,328 per month.
3,328 at 7.5. Let's take the purchase price a little bit higher now because we have a 4,000. So let's go 550. Everybody put the purchase price 550, put the rate 7.5, and put the down payment 100,000. So Julia, do you have the purchase price 550?
Yes.
Do you have the down payment at 100?
Yes.
Do you have the rate at 7.5?
Yes.
What's the total on the top or bottom?
3,735 a month.
That's good, 3,735 a month. So on that one, Julia, give me the mortgage for that. So I'm gonna put here purchase price 550K. That's the purchase for our client. And then loan, well, actually let's put 100,000 okay, down, which makes the loan 450, right? Now, what is the mortgage, Julia, on that?
3,735 a month.
No, the first one, P&I. What's on the top line?
P&I.
P&I.
That's 3,146.
3,146 is their P&I, principal and interest. And what's their tax?
458.
458. And what's their insurance?
131.
131. Total?
Um,
37?
didn't say.
37, this is a 37 number.
3735, yeah.
3735. So, guys, in 3735, there's a little bit room left for mortgage insurance, and if they happen to buy an apartment, a little bit for HOA. So basically, with that client, now you could have a conversation because you have a foundation. You can tell them, hey, you can buy for 550 with 100 down, and your payment with a 7.5 rate is going to be total of 37. Maybe a little bit mortgage insurance, maybe HOA 300, so 4,000. So now when that client goes home, at Zillow or Redfin, they're not going to look at $700,000 home. They're going to look at 550. You see? So those two questions, by using the calculated system, you have a foundation. So basically, guys, as I've said before in other gathering we have, when you have a client, first you got to get them mindset into loan. If they're not a cash buyer, they need a loan. Where do you start? You guys are all loan coordinators. Some of you are loan officers. You sit down and you budget for them. You ask them two questions. Hey, how much can you pay every month? Everything. Principal, interest, insurance, tax, everything. How much can you pay? And how much have you saved up? Some of them say, I can put 10% down. Go, okay, I understand, but give me a number. How much have you saved up? 50,000, 30,000. Put those two numbers in. Start with 500,000 in the calculating system and then go up and down till you get too close to their budget, 4,000, okay? So that's your first step. Second, guys, you guys are gonna ask them, now that we know 4,000 is their entire payment, second thing I wanna teach you guys and remind you guys again, now that you have the $4,000 monthly expense, you want to qualify them. So you need to come up with the magic number of what income they need to qualify for this loan. What loan? This loan, the 450 loan, right? So let's do that together really quick. So we delete the bottom part. So this person wants a 450 loan, okay? So let's call him John. So John wants a loan from any bank for 450,000. After our calculation, his expense, it's okay, his expense is, for the house expense, let's call it house expense, is 4,000, okay? Then, what is the first question you want to ask John about what other expenses he has?
Debts.
I'm sorry?
Their debts.
The debts. Which one you want to ask first? You want to start with the car? Is that okay? Okay, John, do you have any car payment? And Julia, or Joel, what do you think they're going to say for car payment? Give me a payment, monthly payment that you like. 300. So he has a car payment for 300, right? What's the next one, Louisa, you want to ask? Student loan? Okay. Student loan. Zarajan, what do you want to put for student loan for John? 150. And then what other question, Louisa? Credit card debt. Credit card. Julia, how much is your total credit card debt? I know you got a couple of those, so.
25,000.
No, 25,000 is a total, but what's the minimum monthly payment? How about do we 500? Is that good?
Yeah.
500 a month, minimum monthly payment? Okay, and then we can ask him if he has any other loan. So we call it private loan. Anijan, do you want to give him any private loan in the back? Don't fall asleep on us, be with us. You want to give him any private loan or no? 600 a month, that's too much, man. This guy's gonna go broke. Let's say no private loan. He's not gonna qualify. He has too many bills. Okay, so Joel, add this mathematically. What total expenses we have?
Plus the 450.
That's the loan amount. Sorry, that's the loan. Start from here. Start from house expense. Add total.
It's 4,950.
Okay, so total expense versus house's expense, right? How much?
4,950.
4,950. Okay, so this is The total expense, right? So you have the house expense, which is going to be their mortgage. You add the car payment, student loan. The credit card, you only count, Julia, the minimum payments, not the total or the minimum. So you look at each card, what's the minimum they pay? Not what they pay, what the minimum requirement is. You add them up for all the cards. So $49.50. Now that we know $49.50 is the total expense for John, in order to see if he qualifies with his income for a conventional loan, okay, what do we divide that by? Who remembers? That's a little bit too much. That's for FHA. 47, 46 is good. Let's go 46, okay? So somebody take a calculator on your phone. Julia, do it too. Do 49.50 divided by 46%. 49.50 divided by 46% and then equal sign. So hit the percent. 10,760 is the income he needs to have gross monthly to qualify for conventional loan. And if it's FHA, what do we divide it by?
Is that gross or net?
Gross. What did you say, Meg? 52, we can do 53. So do the same thing, guys. 49.50 divided by 53, percent sign, equal sign. So do 53, percent sign, equal sign. What do you get, Julia? 9,343. So John, now you turn around and you look at John's beautiful face and you say, John, how much are you making every month? And if John says, I make, let's say John turns on and says, I make 10,000 gross every month, right? 10,000. Which program does he qualify?
The
FHA. Wow, that was good, Lisa. FHA. So because unconventional, it's a little bit maybe risky, so he falls for FHA. Now, this is how you know if he qualifies. If John says, I only make $6,000, right, a month, so can we edit here? Is it okay if I edit? Mm-hmm. Is it okay? So edit, I'm taking to edit. So okay. If John says I make $6,000 a month, what is our suggestion?
Go
buy some lottery ticket, some scratchers, and play. No, I'm just kidding. Then we need to look at different programs maybe for John, and you need to look at, this is a full doc loan. Maybe we need to switch over to like a no doc, investment loan, bank statement loan. There's many other programs. But today I just want to talk about FHA and conventional qualification. Last thing I want to cover, which on the comfort zone, see, some people are living in their comfort zone. They don't want to get out and it's stuck with us. Okay, let's do it here. Last thing is, what are the 3 rules of thumb that you need to follow in order for his $10,000 income to be acceptable? John says to Julia is a loan coordinator. John says to Julia, I make $10,000 a month. What is the 3 other questions Julia needs to ask to make sure that $10,000 income is valid? What is the first question, second, and third? Let's start with Ani. What's the first question, Ani? Is he getting W-2? Good job, Ani John. Thank you. You made me proud after 2 years. So you see, no, I'm just kidding. So that's the first question. What kind of an income is he's making? 10,000. Is he an Uber driver? Because Uber drivers are 1099. But is he W-2? How do you know if they're W-2? If they're getting tax taken off their check, right? So that's the first question. Is it a W-2 or is it 1099? Needs to be a W-2 to qualify. What's the second question? Think broadly. Think. What's the second question? No tax. 2 years. Second question is, how long have you been at this job or in this profession? How long have you been in this job or in this profession? So the second question is, how long you've been there? So if John says, I've been with this company that I'm making 10,000, 2 years or more, then we're good. We're good, right? If he says, I've only been with this company 6 months, right? Then the third question comes in. What did you do before then? They have to be in the same line of work. So if John worked for 6 months as an IT tech, making 10,000, before that he was making 10,000, but he was working as a hairdresser, right? Doesn't count. They have to be in the same line of work. The most general same line of work, guys, is like management positions, supervisor positions, sales position, because you could be a salesperson for a car dealership and a computer shop, still sales, right? You could be a swimming instructor working at YMCA, and now let's say you're a swimming instructor working at Rose Bowl, right? It's the same, doesn't matter. Yes, Meg.
Yeah, quick question. Do we have a program that does 1 year full doc or
We, as far as I know, we can double check with Perry. Perry, do we? As far as I know, we don't.
No, unless they have like a degree.
Yes, I was gonna get to that too. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So 2 year is a rule of thumb in the same line of work. The only exception, so the third question would be if they say less than 2 years, the third question would be where else did you work? So the third question is, it's gotta be in the same line of work, right? Now, one exception to that rule, exception, is if you have graduated with a bachelor degree or higher, and then you get a job in that field that you graduate, right? Then the 2 year rule goes out the window because your bachelor degree fulfills the 2 year line of work. So let's say Joelle just got her bachelor in business management, and she just got a job with Amazon's department doing business management, making $10,000 a month. That $10,000 a month is acceptable right away. No tax return needed, no history needed, nothing needed, because a bachelor degree is sufficient. Or if you get a degree in nursing, let's say Julia gets a degree in nursing, right? She's a registered nurse now. She starts making $100,000 a year. That's acceptable right away. Why? Because she just got her degree. Okay?
So it's only applies when you just get your degree, or it
It's-
applies to people that they already have?
Here's the thing. I think it's 6 months is the rule of thumb, generally speaking. Okay? They don't want a gap, but sometimes you can go up to a year. Is that correct, Perry?
Yeah, they don't want, it needs to make sense. They
Yeah.
can't be, like, if you got your license in 2019 and you just got the job, that's gonna be like a no.
That's hard.
Yeah.
But let's say Julia got her nursing. She wanted to take a year off, 6 months off, 3 months off, go to Paris, or work at Costco, see how it feels, and then do that. As long as the timeline makes sense, it's okay. Okay? So guys, for today, I want to just do a little summary. This was the basic introduction of Lending 101, especially when you meet with your clients. So step one, you need to do budgeting. So in your mind, budgeting is always first. You ask those two questions. How much have you saved up? What's your maximum budget? Second step, you are going to basically add their, once you do the calculation, right? You know their monthly payment of $3,735, make it $4,000. You're going to ask their other expenses and come up with the total expense. Then you take the total expense, you divide it to these numbers, and you see what income they should have. And then you ask them what income they have, and then you could see if they qualify or not. Now, obviously, there's more advanced from here. We have different programs. There's a lot more to it, but I just wanted to do a little bit of reminder of lending. Now, before I close out, I know Louisa mentioned something with lending that would help our current buyers. So this is my first and most practical advice about how to help our buyers with lending. My most practical advice, practical meaning I've used it and it worked for me, so I'm just sharing my experience with you guys. Get them to meet with you in person and discuss options for lending. Get them to, or go to their house or go to Starbucks if they're busy. Sit down face to face and say, listen, you qualify for a bank statement business loan. I went to 5 lenders. I've look at it, put it in front of them. This is a good lender to go with. Here's your payment, here's your tax, here's this. But guess what? This payment, Julia, let's say Julia is your client. This payment, Julia, is only maybe for a couple of years because rates are going to go down. So it's going to get easier. Not guaranteeing it, but that's how things have been. When rates go up, rates go down. So best advice is to meet with them constantly about their loan, keep them interested, educate them, do what Louisa suggested, come to the office, get some programs, different programs. Basically, you need to have a hook with your clients about lending. Julia brought a customer in yesterday. Unfortunately, it's a unique situation. Their lending may not happen. Now that Julia knows that lending doesn't happen, she delivers the message to them. She moves on, right? She moves on. She goes, plays basketball. You know, it doesn't matter. But you need to have the, because it doesn't do any good to take him, show houses, and then think about lending, because you're doing things backwards. You know, my motto has been always moving forward. As long as we're moving forward, guys, that's all we can do. We're not going to become successful agents or successful entrepreneurs overnight. It will take time. But as long as you have a plan, a success plan, that you're moving forward, then I think you're good. You need to move forward. Baby steps, I think I mentioned last time, will make a huge steps. You know, something will develop into something bigger and then bigger. But if you don't do anything about it, you're just hoping that social media will do it for you, or Kevin will do it for you, or if I'm just hoping that Perry is just, now that I have Perry, now that I have Zara, they're just going to do it for me and I just keep going to vacation, then eventually it will not work. So take baby steps, move forward. I'll do more lending next week, Louisa, and I will make some more flyers that like I did in the past, just to make it more, remind us to be more concrete. Any question? Yes.
You just went through the ones that they are going with W-2. Can you go also through the people that they go with W-2 and 1099 to get qualified for a loan?
Well, yeah, a wife and a husband can do that. So a wife can go through W-2, which we did, let's say,
Yeah.
right? And a husband that goes through 1099, they will have to pay taxes. So basically, let's say, John is an Uber driver, right? John is an Uber driver. We tell John, hey, John, you need 10,000 a month to qualify, at least. John says, well, hold on, Kevin. Look at my 2 years tax return. I've actually paid taxes on 120,000 both year, because as an Uber driver, I made 200 a year. I worked a lot. I was Uber Black. I work a lot. I had 80,000 expenses, and I paid taxes on 120. I'm like, really, you did? Let me look at your taxes. I look at his taxes, and the net is 120. So 120 I divided by 12, let's say I get 10,000, I'm like, yeah, you do qualify. So 1099 goes to your taxes. You have to have paid taxes on the net amount. 1099 means, right now, Julia is 1099, let's say. Joelle is 1099. Joelle makes, let's say, 500 a week here. She takes that at the end of the year, she does her expenses, her gas, food, whatever, and then she pays taxes on the net. The net would be equivalent to the W-2 gross amount.
But that should be 2 years after tax, right? 1 year is not.
Most of the time, yes. Sometimes 1 year. That would be in case-by-case conversation that we could ask Perry. But most of the time 2, but sometimes we can go just with 1 year. We can, sometimes. Especially like business, corporations, we can do 1 year. So if you are a 1099 employee, you want to qualify for a house, it's like you're self-employed. So we fall into a different program. If you go with taxes, you're full doc. If you go with bank statement, you're no doc. You're stated income program, different types of program. And I'll try to focus on that more next week.